Before I begin today's story, one, I think you might have noticed in yesterday's video and probably today's video, I'm trying some different audio settings. So let me know in the comment section down below if you like them, if they're too compressed, the usual. And second, if you like these videos, please like it and subscribe and do all that stuff. Also leave comments down below. I tend to read almost all of the comments at some point or another whenever I get around to it. And this is a meme creepypasta, obviously. If you Google Skibidi toilet, you'll know what this is about. Hey, somebody had to do it. Might as well be me. On to the story. I always said that memes would be the death of us. Not in the kids these days sense, but in the way you say it while scrolling Twitter at 2 in the morning. The blue light painting your face with all the warmth of a police lineup. I'm not the sort of guy who blames society for his problems, but I've spent enough nights watching CCTV feeds to know that if the world ever ended, it would start as a joke on the internet. That's what Skibidi was, at first. It was a joke, a meme, a giddy slice of absurdity born from the bowels of YouTube. You probably know it. Those warped plasticine heads, the human faces stretched over toilet bowls like some deranged AI's idea of slapstick. Skibidi bop, yes, 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 they chant, their voices spliced into a song that stuck into your brain like a popcorn kernel wedged between your teeth. Kids would spam it in the comments sections, edit their own faces into toilets, and before long, hell, it was everywhere. The kind of everywhere that makes you nostalgic for those simpler days when planking was the worst thing that you'd ever see online. But trends fade, or so I thought. Now I'm a night security guard. I'm 44. I'm built in a way that says kind of like a beer league hockey, more than fitness influencer. And the name's Dave. I work the graveyard shift at Westside Tech Center, a squat glass building wedged between a vape shop and an abandoned Quiznos. The city hums at night. The sirens, the distant music, the echo of skateboards over concrete. And most nights, nothing happens. You see, I sit there and I watch monitors, I eat cold sandwiches, and I argue with bots on Reddit. But that night, the night the Skibidi meme crawled out of my phone and into my world, was different, to say the least. It started with a flicker on camera 6. Back alley, dumpster view. I'd seen raccoons, possums, even one meth head dressed as Spider-Man, but this time the movement was weirdly rhythmic. It was way too smooth to be any sort of animal. I leaned in, the cheap plastic chairs squeaking underneath me. The screen showed a shadow. It was squat and round, and it was wobbling from side to side. Then a pale shape crept into the wash of the security light. Now at first, hell, I thought it was a prank. Some kid in a mask. But it didn't seem right. You see, that mask was very stretched, extremely shiny for CCTV, and those bugged out eyes that looked like they'd been painted on with Microsoft Paint. And below the face, it wasn't a body, but a toilet. A full porcelain commode, gliding along as if it were on wheels. Except there were none. The head started bobbing, and through the tinny speakers, I heard it. Skibidi bop bop, yes, yes, yes. I burst out laughing because, what else do you do? I even texted a picture to my buddy Rick. Look, the memes escaped containment. Call the SCP Society. But when I looked back at the screen, the thing was staring straight at camera 6. Its grin was wide. It was all teeth and pixelated. And the eyes seemed to bulge a lot closer than I'd like it was pressing its face against the lens of the security camera. I immediately clicked to switch the cameras. The thing was gone. I checked the alley feed again. and it was nothing but the dumpster and a pile of greasy pizza boxes. I tried to shake it off. It was probably just a prank, right? You know, some TikTok moron with too much time and a costume budget. But then the audio feed started to glitch. A looping fragment of the Skibidi song whispering through the speakers, even though I'd muted them. And that's when the lights in the hallway flickered. I watched as the bulbs guttered and buzzed, one after another, until the monitors were the only lights in the room. The humming overhead took on a tune, a twisted, broken rhythm of skibbity bop bop yes yes yes, except now it sounded like somebody was gargling back there. I swallowed, suddenly aware of the cold sweat prickling on my neck. I wasn't scared, not really, but I was annoyed. This was the part of the job I hated. You know, the weirdos, the late-night breakdowns, the sense that everything was one step away from falling to pieces. I grabbed my flashlight, the heavy mag light that doubled as a club, and I stomped out of the monitoring room. The hallway stretched before me, ugly linoleum reflecting the sickly glow from the exit signs, and that Skibidi song kept looping. My boots thudded against the floor. And I just told myself it must just be kids, you know, viral prank that I haven't caught on to yet. Maybe a hallucination from too much caffeine and not enough sleep. But when I turned the corner by the restrooms, I saw the first toilet. It was just sitting there in the middle of the hallway, lit up. The bowl was gleaming. No face, just yet. It was just a toilet where there probably shouldn't be one. I laughed, short, sharp, the kind of laugh you do to convince yourself that, hey, you know, everything's fine, it's a fucking toilet, you know? But then the lid creaked open, and from inside the bowl, a voice rose. Skibidi bop bop, yes, yes, yes. I dropped my sandwich. The sandwich hit the floor with a wet splat, turkey and the mustard oozing onto my boot. I didn't pick it up. My eyes were locked on the toilet. The lid was still rising inch by inch, as if something underneath was hesitating, savoring that moment. The fluorescent light above me flickered, and for just a heartbeat, I saw something glistening in the bowl. A hand? No, not a hand. It was something pale and rubbery, like a balloon animal being forced through a keyhole. I did what any rational man would do. See, I took a step back. My mag light felt heavier than usual. I'm not ashamed to admit I considered running, but I've worked too many damn years in this city to let a haunted toilet chase me off the job. Or a kid, for that matter. I squared my shoulders and I shined my flashlight straight into the bowl, and I barked. Whoever's in there, you're trespassing. This building's closed. I mean, after all, I had to do my job, right? But the voice from the bowl didn't answer, but it started humming again. The Skibidi melody, only slower and drawn out. It was almost warbly, as if someone was playing the song underwater. The rim of the bowl then stretched and flexed, and suddenly a face surged up from the water. It was the same face I'd seen on the camera. It was cartoonish. Eyes bulging from their sockets, and its mouth was gigantic, a grin that split its cheeks all the way to the ears. And the thing stared at me, slightly blinking, its lips moving in sync with the song. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I screamed. I mean, people exaggerate, you know? But I might have let out a sound that wasn't entirely dignified. And so I swung that heavy mag light, aiming for the bowl, but the toilet lid slid backwards, scraping across the linoleum floor with a high-pitched squeal. It moved faster than it had any right to, skittering right around the corner. I gave chase. I don't know why. You know, call it pride or stupidity or the desperate hope that if I caught the thing, it would turn out to be a prop or a prank or, you know, something explainable. but the hallway was empty except for that lingering tune echoing from somewhere up ahead. I rounded the corner. My heart's pounding in my chest at this point, and I nearly tripped over another damn toilet. This one was upside down, balanced on its tank like a circus act gone wrong. Its lid was missing, but someone or something had written Skibidi in red marker across the porcelain. The marker was still fresh, dripping down the side in slow, syrupy rivulets. I backed away at this point. You see, every hair in my arms and my neck was standing straight up, and I heard the sound again. Skibidi bop bop, yes, 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 now coming from behind me. I spun around, flashlight beam jerking through the dark. Down the hallway, dozens of toilets lined the walls, each one different. Some old and yellowed, others gleaming and new, a few festooned with party hats and googly eyes and these stupid plastic flowers that you'd buy at Hobby Lobby for an extraordinary price. Their lids began to crack open, one after another, as if pulled by invisible strings. A puppet master, perhaps. But faces emerged from each bowl. They were all grotesque, every one with that same manic grin. And the song grew louder, a chorus of voices bouncing off the tile. Some of the faces were distorted, stretched, or squashed, with features that flickered and glitched like a laggy Twitch stream. I realized with a cold twist in my gut that they all looked vaguely familiar. Faces that I'd seen online, mashed up and memed beyond recognition. And my own face might be among them someday. The toilets began to move, sliding toward me in unison. I stumbled backward a bit, tripping over my fallen sandwich. And one of these faces laughed. It was a wet, gurgling chuckle that sounded like it was bubbling up from the sewers. Skibidi bop bop, yes, yes. They chanted the words, twisting and looping, the melody turning sour. Skibidi bop bop, yes, yes. Dave. Well, hell, they knew my name. I bolted. Pride be damned. I sprinted down the corridor, past the offices and the copy room, every door slamming shut as I passed. I could hear the toilets scraping after me, the song morphing into a monstrous, echoing cacophony. I burst into that stairwell and I slammed the door behind me. And the instant it clicked shut, the music stopped. It was total suffocating silence. I slumped up against the wall. My chest was heaving up and down and sweat was dripping down my neck. My phone buzzed in my pocket suddenly, and with shaking hands I pulled it out. A notification. It was a new message from Rick. The preview read, "Dude, did you see the Skibidi thing in the alley? Is that you on camera?" I didn't respond. I didn't dare open the Skibidi app. I just stared at the phone, watching as the screen flickered away and the battery icon draining faster. The Skibidi melody played faintly from the speaker, even though I hadn't opened any apps. Somewhere below, I heard the toilets begin to scrape and slide again, moving into rhythm, closing in. I pressed myself against the cold cinder block wall. Every muscle in my body was tense. The stairwell was lit by a single emergency bulb, casting an anemic yellow glow over the chipped steps. My mind scrambled for answers. Maybe I'd fallen asleep at the monitors, face down in my sandwich, and this was all some sort of fever dream. Except the ache in my knees and the sting where I scraped my hand, stumbling up the stairs, felt too damn real. And below, the scraping and sloshing noises grew louder. I heard the faint plink of porcelain on concrete, and the giddy echo of Skibidi bop bop, yes, 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 swirling up the stairwell like a greasy fog. My phone buzzed again. This time the screen glitched, the text stretching and warping until the letters spelled out, "Skibidi wants to see you." probably wondering what the hell I did, huh? Well, I did what they never tell you to do in horror movies. I answered the call. Rick. It was static, and then a sound like someone garbling a mouthful of marbles. Dave, said a voice that was almost, but not quite Rick's. Come down. Say yes, yes, yes. The call ended with a wet pop. The last dregs of my phone's battery bled out, the screen going complete black. And in the darkness I heard the toilets chanting, their voices overlapping in a grotesque choir. Skibidi bop bop, yes, yes, yes. Skibidi bop bop, yes, yes, yes. Dave, Dave, Dave. It was my name again. The sound of it echoed through the stairwell, making the hair on the nape of my neck stand straight up again. I gripped the mag light until my knuckles turned white and started up the stairs, 2 at a time. Maybe there was a way out of the roof. Maybe I just wanted to put as much concrete between me and the Skibidi parade as possible. Each landing was worse than the last. On the second floor, someone or something had scrawled, "If you see the toilets, run," on the wall in what looked suspiciously like ketchup. On the third floor, the fire door was wedged open with a plunger, crimson water pooling on the tiles. The song was behind me, below me, above me, and everywhere. I reached the roof access hatch and I shoved it open, bursting out into the cool city air. The skyline was gorgeous and the streets below pulsing with headlights and the distant whoop of sirens. I staggered to the edge, sucking in huge gulps of exhaust-scented wind, and tried to make sense of what I'd seen. Surely this must be some elaborate prank. Animatronics maybe, or those weird TikTokers with too much times on their hands. But the door behind me slammed shut, and the Skibidi song boomed from the building's ventilation shafts. From the alley below, a procession emerged. Dozens of toilets, gliding along the asphalt like parade floats, their faces flickering with glitchy grins. One of them craned its head up, if you could call it a head, its eyes locked with mine. "Come on down, Dave," it sang. "Be part of the meme. Skibidi bop bop, yes, yes, yes." I backed away from the edge slowly. The city did look different from up here. I wondered if anyone could see what was happening, or if I was the only one trapped in the Skibidi nightmare, the only one who hadn't laughed hard enough at the meme, who'd let it fester. The roof doors slowly creaked open. I turned. I raised my mag light, and I was ready to swing at whatever came crawling through. It was Rick, or what was left of him. His face looked like if somebody had tried to Photoshop him onto a potato and failed. His eyes bulged out, just like Skibidi. His jaw hung crooked, just like Skibidi. And when he spoke, the words came out in a spray of static. "Join us, Dave," he crooned. "Skibidi bop bop, yes, yes, yes." I stumbled backward, tripping over my fallen. The toilet lunged forward, scraping so suddenly that the sound rattled my teeth. It was close enough now that I could see flecks of dried blood and a single floating turd in the bowl. The face atop it jerked and glitched. Its eyes were twitching. "Skibidi bop bop, yes, yes, Dave," it sang, warbling my name. The voice was almost familiar. It was a twisted echo of my own. I tried to scramble to my feet, but my boot slid on the roof. My flashlight clattered away, spinning across the ground, the beam slicing through all the shadows. I crawled on my hands and knees. The toilets rolled after me, moving jerkily, some bouncing on their tanks upside down, others dragging themselves by mysterious means. The faces flickered in the light, random internet avatars mashed together. A frog with a mullet, a grinning cat, a baby-faced influencer I vaguely recognized from a meme about eating drywall. But I had to get out. I forced myself up. 44 years old and I never moved so fast. I grabbed my mag light and swung it at the nearest bowl. The impact rang out, a sound so loud and sharp, it was almost musical. But the toilet bowl didn't crack. It laughed. It shot a spray of water from the bowl, soaking my pants, and the chorus howled with delight, voices overlapping each other, some high and shrill, others deep and guttural. I spun towards the nearest emergency exit, slamming my shoulder into the push bar. The door opened with a shriek, and I tumbled out into the downstairs stairwell. I ran all the way downstairs, and I finally got to the loading dock. The city night pressed in, all sodium lights and traffic noise. I staggered to my feet, looking around wildly. The alley was empty except for a single ancient toilet perched atop a pile of broken pallets. It had no face, but the lid creaked open as if it were sniffing the night air. Behind me, through the open door, the Skibidi chorus grew louder, echoing up the stairwell and through the halls. I could see them now. Dozens of toilets rolling and scraping along, their faces bobbing with time. It was a parade of internet horror. I backed away and looked at the security camera above the alley. The little red light blinked, and for a moment, I saw my own face reflected in the lens. Then, behind my reflection, the toilet spilled into the alley. I ran. I ran past the dumpsters. I ran past the flickering streetlights, my boots slapping the wet pavement. Somewhere behind me, the Skibidi song grew faint and then faded into the city's noise, the sirens, and the low thump of bass from a distant club. I stopped only when I reached the main street. I turned back, but the alley was empty. There were no toilets or no faces coming out of the toilets. And then I fumbled for my phone. The notifications blinked, memes, videos, Skibidi clips multiplying in my feed, the algorithm working overtime. And above the city, the streetlights flickered in perfect sync. And out in the distance, a faint and tinny, a voice whispered, "Skibidi bop bop, yes, yes, yes." Was it the wind? I don't think so. The city night getting to me? The caffeine, or perhaps something else? I never did find out, and I never worked another night shift again.